You got the list
Yeah.
up here now.
So top 19 overall players, not just running backs. I'm sorry. Mike Thomas is number 3. Would you guys agree with that? Or do you think that could be argued, or do you think you wouldn't touch that in a real draft yourself? Like Thomas is like the 4 or 5 for me. I'm not saying it's crazy to take him 3 in a PPR, but for me, I think I'm drafting Zeke, I'm drafting Cook, I'm drafting Barkley, and I'm drafting McCaffrey probably 9 times out of 10 before I do draft Thomas. But I do have Thomas locked in at 5 or 6 for sure. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I wouldn't say it's a bad call. You know what I mean? I definitely would have Elliott ahead of him. I mean, him and Dalvin Cook, you could make a case for between 4 and 5. Honestly, and Thomas has really been a star PPR league. He's gonna get you a ton of catches. He's a big weapon on a big high octane offense. Dalvin Cook with the history of injuries, he is a little risky. So saying that he's 4 definitely is not a stretch. But I would have Elliott definitely at 3 ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Elliott's at 4 on this list. Cook is at 5, and again,
Yeah.
Thomas is at 3. I think that's a pretty good. It's tiered off right there, so that's tier 1. I think that's a pretty good way to do it, though. I don't think anybody's missing from that tier. We have Hopkins, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Kamara, Derrick Henry, all in the next tier, and I think that's probably pretty accurate. The one I don't agree with, and we'll get to after, is Chubb being in the next tier, the 3rd tier. I don't know why he's dropped into that tier. But Derrick Henry for me at 6 is still a little too high. I'm not saying it's crazy. I'm not saying he can't earn that. But for me, Derrick Henry feels like a safe 8 to 10 overall guy. I just fear him reproducing what he was able to accomplish at the end of the year last year all season long. I know you love him, Dr. Raj. Ari, what do you think of Derrick Henry at 5? Do you take him there at all?
5, wow.
I probably won't be taking that early, but I do think the release of Deion Lewis does maybe shine light that they will involve him more in the passing game. Because that would be the only thing holding me back from taking him that early, is if they don't involve him more in the passing game. But with the release of Deion Lewis, they might. I think it would partially depend on who the quarterback is, whether they re-sign Tannehill or bring in somebody else like Brady, obviously. But I'm still a little bit cautious on Henry. I know you talked about it, like what's his running style, but I mean, it obviously worked out great last year, especially in the playoffs and towards the end of the regular season. So I still have my cautions when it comes to injuries, but I mean, if he can stay healthy and get more involved in the passing game, I think he could finish top 3 in 2020.
Yeah, he definitely could. I think Kamara for me would be the guy I would take ahead of Henry every single time, but that's me. I know Kamara's faltered; he's failed people. Can he stay healthy? Will they give him the ball? Will he beat Devonta Freeman 2.0, or Devonta Freeman was like literally the best running back in fantasy football one year, and then he never was able to really capture that again. There's an argument to be made there. I don't blame anybody for liking Henry more, but Kamara I like more. Do you guys like Kamara more than Henry?
And PPR, yeah.
Yeah, definitely PPR. He's got a high upside, man. I mean, if Kamara can go back to where he was before last year, I mean, sky's the limit on that kid.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I saw a thing that like he wasn't even like 100% healthy last year, which definitely makes sense watching him play, looking back at.
And he's a hard trainer. He trains harder than anybody. All the videos in the off season of him like on like balancing balls, juggling, whatever you call them. Clubs.
Yeah, he has a pretty intense off-season workout. You're right, balance training and everything. But going about my boy Derrick Henry, I definitely think he's one of those boomer bust type guys. Like you said, he's either going to be back to the top form that he was, and just run over people, or he's just going to make a lot of people upset this season. So it's one of those guys where you're going to have to roll the dice on him. He's a great player. I like the guy, but definitely boomer bust. And there's a lot of questions with the Titans. Are they going to get Tannehill back? Tom Brady, he's rumored there. And then you got my man, AJ Brown, who's going to take off this season. So that's going to take away from Henry.
2 comments. AJ says Aaron Jones might need to be in that tier 1. I don't know that I put him in tier 1. I think you could make an argument for him. Well, he's in tier 2 already. I think he's in the tier he belongs in. I get it, AJ. You like him. He had an extremely amazing year, but he's TD dependent. and I don't think you can count on him scoring even close to what he scored last year touchdown wise. But I get the appeal. I know why you like him. Mixon at 1.11 is a little early, says Renee. Defenses are going to stack the box against the rookie QB when they draft Burrow. I mean, I like Mixon more than I like this year than I liked him last year. I think Burrow is going to be an upgrade, and I think he's pretty good. But I'm not 100% sold on Burrow. I just think he's, it looks like an upgrade to me at a glance. But what do you guys think? Do you think Mixon's good at 11, 12, 13 overall?
Yeah, keep him with that.
I'm pretty high on Mixon. I mean, last year he was even producing with like Ryan Finley and and Dalton got hurt in that stretch. So
yeah,
I think Burrow, like you said, is going to be an upgrade from both Ryan Finley and Dalton last year. And the offensive line is going to get better with the return of John Williams from injury. They're probably going to franchise tag AJ Green to love Green. Boyd, John Ross will be healthy as a field stretcher. So I think this could be a pretty underrated offense in fantasy when it comes to Green, Boyd, and Mixon in 2020.
Yeah,
I agree. I think he's where he's at. He belongs there, and you're right. He could be an underrated player this season, which is funny because we know he's a great player, but he's actually going to be kind of coming under the radar. With the team. Not a lot of expectations going to be placed on this team. Fly under the radar. You got AJ Green. You got Joe Burrow coming in most likely, and that's going to help him, I think, because people are going to be playing the pass game, and here comes Mixon. He's going to be coming out the backfield and having a good game.
One guy that kind of shocks me here on this list is Tyreek Hill being at number 8. I like Tyreek Hill. I'm just shocked at how high everybody's ranking him in the early
media
offseason.
bias, man. They love the Chiefs are going to get all the hype.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill,
that's a little high. Your number one overall play. Like when I walk out, I don't know about you guys, but when I walk out of my draft, like if Tyreek Hill's my number one overall drafted player, I'm gonna feel a little bit light. I'm not gonna feel like I have that big gun I need to have. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but
he doesn't feel like a first round pick.
You what?
Are you looking at standard right now?
You know what? I think let's see. I could be. I think it is standard.
PPR is like 12.
Okay. Why is he higher in? You guys want to look at one position? Would that be easier?
Whatever works for you.
Okay, let's do running backs. Let's take a look at running backs. Let's do the top 20 running backs according to Fantasy Pros PPR. And let me throw that on screen here. Bear with me, guys. Yeah, this one has McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Cook, and then that's tiered off. I think it'll be easier for tier's sake to talk about just one position at a time. So we'll go running backs tonight. We'll hit another position, another show. Let me drag this puppy onto the screen.
I see Renee, he said teams ain't going to let Mixon beat them. They're going to make Burrow beat them. He's going to have to prove he can. But Mixon was putting up RB1 numbers with Ryan Finley under center when teams are stacking the box against him. And they're stacking the box when Dalton was under center too. So, I want to say Mixon was top 5 in defenders in the box against him last year, I want to say. So if defenders stacking the box against him with Dalton and Ryan Finley under center wouldn't stop him, I don't see how Burrow, who's going to be an upgrade from Dalton and Ryan Finley, I don't see that affecting him.
Yeah, and like you said too, AJ Green didn't even play last season, so you get a great receiver out there. Take some pressure off. I think Mixon's going to be good now.
Okay, let's start over with these rankings then and look at it like this. So McCaffrey 1, Barkley 2, Elliott 3, Dalvin Cook 4. You guys are, whether you have... So, Dr. Raj, do you think Henry belongs in tier 1 with those guys, or are you pulling Cook out of it and you have literally Elliott, Barkley, McCaffrey in their own tier? And then
No, I think it's right where it's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kamara, you have Henry over Kamara. I have Kamara over Henry, like Fantasy Pros shows on here. Then it goes Aaron Jones, Mixon. My personal ranking, I'm going to get bold here and tell you kind of what I think versus what I would do or what I would recommend somebody go into a draft with. Eckler's ranking at number 10. For me, I'm gonna rank them like this in my own, like my expectation level, and I'll use ADP to my advantage if I can. So Barkley, McCaffrey, Elliott, Cook, Kamara, and instead of Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Mixon, I'm gonna say Chubb and Eckler right below Kamara and ahead of Henry. But that's me. I think that's a little bold. I wouldn't draft that way. I would try and trade down. Or if I'm at an auction, I'm going to save bucks by doing that kind of buying style. But I think Eckler, to me, needs to be in the top 6, 7 overall for running backs. He proved it last year in a sharing situation. I think that being the lone wolf there in that Chargers offense for 2020. Now, they could bring Melvin Gordon back. Melvin Gordon might find no market out there when he goes searching for a job and realizes he made a huge mistake last year, just like Lev Bell did the year before. But Eckler, to me, right now is sitting in the driver's seat. I think he's an 800 or 900 rushing yard player on top of, probably scale back receiving stats because he doesn't have Rivers there. But is he an 800, 900 guy? I don't know. What do you guys think about Eckler?
Go ahead.
I think it depends on whether or not they bring in somebody else or stick with Justin Jackson as the number 2. We saw Eckler was like number 2, I believe, behind McCaffrey when Gordon was holding out, and he still finished like top 5 even with Gordon's presence. So yeah, I definitely think if they don't bring in anybody, and even if they bring in somebody like minor, like say like the 3rd or 4th round of the NFL draft, or like a DeAndre Washington type of player in free agency, I still think because Eckler is not gonna get 20, 25 touches a game at his size, and he proved last year that even at like 15 to 20 touches a game, he can still give you top 5 upside at the running back position and in PPR specifically. So yeah, I think assuming even if they bring in somebody in the offseason that's like a minor move, I still like Eckler a lot, assuming Melvin Gordon does leave.
Enough to rank him top 6 to 7 for all running backs, and also how important is the quarterback situation to you, like if Brady's there versus like Bridgewater or something?
And I definitely think it's something to keep an eye on. We saw Brady target James White a lot in New England, obviously, so I don't think that'd be a bad thing. Bridgewater, I'm not completely sure off the top of my head how much he targeted Kamara, but obviously he wasn't fully healthy either, so that's something to keep in mind. But I just think Eckler's, no matter who the quarterback is, it's always something to keep an eye on. And obviously Rivers did target him a lot, but I do think that they're gonna make him a focal point no matter who the quarterback is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Dr. Rush?
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about this last week, Eckler, when he signed his contract and everything, and we both pretty much agreed that I think they're going to make Eckler a bigger point of their offense. He's going to be a focal point. Melvin Gordon is probably out of there. Writing's on the wall to me. He's not going to be in the Chargers anymore. If he does, I'd be surprised, but so I think that's where Eckler comes in. He steps up. He's going to be the lead back. That means he's going to get more touches. PPR league, he should be getting more passes out the backfield, specifically tied to the quarterback, because Philip Rivers is not going to be there. Brady, Bridgewater, whoever the quarterback is, they're going to have to get him involved into this offense. I think 15 touches a game is not out of the picture, which would be really good because he put up some big time numbers last year when he was getting about 7 to 14 carries a game. So I think basically Eckler could be I think he's top 10. I wouldn't say 6, 7, 8 yet. I definitely think he's top 10 with the upside to be in that range.
Nick Chubb. I have Chubb. He's at the top of tier 3 according to Fantasy Pros. It's Chubb, Eckler, Leonard Fournette, Josh Jacobs, Gurley, Miles Sanders, and then there's a tier break. So I have Chubb in tier 2. I have Eckler in tier 2. I'd probably bring Aaron Jones and Mixon to the top of tier 3, and I might bring Josh Jacobs into the bottom of tier 2, or at least put him at the top of tier 3. I think Jacobs is going to be, a workhorse. So, what do you guys think about that, Dr. Raj?
I'm a big Jacobs fan. His rookie season was great. He's only going to get better. They're going to, feed the beast, and I think he's definitely can be at the top of that tier. I think he's going to become a big time player out of the backfield too. I think he'll get a little bit more, especially depending on who they get at quarterback. If they stay with Carr, They'll keep pushing him out of the backfield. But if they get a guy like Brady, the check downs, little dump passes, screen passes would probably improve his value. But I think Jacobs is going to get a lot of touchdowns this season.
And Chubb, you like Chubb in the tier 2, or you down with Chubb?
Still, I know you're a big Chubb guy, but I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest Chubb guy. I think he's right where he needs to be.
It doesn't sound good, but hey, whatever works.
Whatever works, man.
You don't get a Chubb. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's good where he's at. I think he's right where he needs to be, but it's the Cleveland Browns, man. I'm not going to put a lot of stock on the Cleveland.
Yeah, Stefanski excites me because of what he did with Dalvin Cook and coming over to Cleveland. I think he's going to use him the same way. You can't really get better rushing stats than Chubb had in 2019, but even if he takes a little dip there, he's going to get at least like 15-20% increase across the board in the receiving department because of how Stefanski's going to use him. And I'm not scared if Kareem Hunt lands back in Cleveland. I actually like it. It's a security blanket. It's top 5 guaranteed running back production if you have the duo. Ari, thoughts on Chubb, and what do you think about Jacobs being in tier 2 or tier 1?
No, yeah, I'm with you on both of them. I think I like Chubb a lot. I think if Kareem Hunt signs with somebody else, I think Chubb could be top 3 to 4, and even with Hunt, he could still be like top 5 to 7. We also saw what Stefanski did in Minnesota, and I think that's why I liked Cook a lot last year as well, is because he's had that history his entire coaching career of bringing a run-heavy offense. And I also think it'll help make Baker more efficient and open up the play action in the passing game. So yeah, I like Chubb a lot, as well as Jacobs. Jacobs lost a lot of the passing down work last year to Washington and Richard, but they re-signed Richard, but they're going to let Washington hit free agency. So, and I believe that at the combine, Mayock said that a focal point for the offense this year is to get Jacobs more involved in the passing game this year, which I think is definitely going to happen, because I think Washington and Richard combined, I don't remember exactly, but they took almost all the passing downs and third downs last year. So I think with Washington hitting free agency, they're going to bring back Richard just as like everybody needs as much depth as they can have in their backfield these days. But so he'll have a small role as like a change of pace back. But I definitely think Jacobs will be more involved in the passing game, and he'll be the workhorse that Gruden always has in his offenses in the run game. So yeah, I like both of them a lot in tier 2.
Yeah, Jacobs to me is like the perfect bookend pick. Like if you have the 11 pick or the 12 pick and you're picking pretty much back to back. Like I love having Jacobs as that first or second player that I'm taking. I just feel like pretty strong about the teams I'm building when I'm doing mocks or whatever. Let's see, Fournette. I've never been a big fan of Fournette. He was my number 2 or 3 overall bowl prediction in 2018 when I called him the biggest bust in the world. But so I landed that. But then the next year he was on my bust list again, and he did really well last year. So I'm one for one. But I'm not straying from my usual doubt about this guy. I feel like he's aggressive runner, which worries me because he's kind of labeled injury prone, and I believe he is. I think his size, his frame, his aggressive style. I'm not a huge fan of his decision making. What did they score? 2 or 3 touchdowns all year last year? The Jaguars on the ground.
Yeah. Fournette had 3 rushing touchdowns on the year, and I'm pretty sure that was all of their team's rushing touchdowns. So yeah, 3.
There's reasons to be concerned that you can't spin the whole thing as a positive year in Jacksonville. Not you, but people. So, What are your thoughts, Ari, on Fournette? Do you trust him? Where do you trust him, if you trust him at all? And do you think he's in for a disappointing year, given some people are ranking him around 12 to 14 overall?
Yeah, I definitely have the same cautions as you. Not only the injuries, but last year he had 100 targets and 76 receptions. Just last year alone, in his first 2 years in the league, he combined for 74 targets and 58 receptions. So he basically doubled his targets and receptions from his first 2 years in 1 year. So I definitely think that's going to see some regression. I do think he can. I think. I mean, I think just by default he'll have more than 3 rushing touchdowns in 2020, just with the opportunity he'll see.
Hmm.
It'll be interesting to see whether they stick with Minshew or Foles in 2020. But yeah, I definitely think receiving wise, it's definitely going to take a step back. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to see 100 targets and catch 75 plus balls again. But I do think he'll see a little bit of positive regression in the rushing touchdown. So I think it'll kind of even out a little bit. So I think I wouldn't put him. Let's see, he's number 11 on Fantasy Pros for PPR, which I'd say is about right, just off the top of my head.
Yeah. See, Jacobs is below him. Todd Gurley's right below him, and Todd Gurley's in a tier, another world down below. I don't know why he's ranking there. Drake is number 16 overall. Drake is a guy I'm ranking. Honestly, I'm ranking him at like 9 or 10 overall. I'm not going to draft him there, but I like him above Fournette, to be honest with you. Which is good for me because I can spend less money or less, have a lower draft slot, and benefit from that. I'm not taking him where I'm taking Fournette yet, but I think that could change. I mean, let's say they traded DJ tomorrow to Tampa Bay. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's say they did, or they cut him, which I don't think is going to happen because of the cap hit and everything. But if they got rid of DJ, do you guys see Drake going to like number 12 overall? I think the hype would be that real at that point.
Yeah, you'd have to almost think it was because he's got the backfield to himself. You know what he did last season with when he was in that backfield with Kyler Murray and everything. He just took off. He showed that he was the guy for that backfield. He's the perfect back for their offense. And if they get rid of DJ and they make him the starter, and there's nobody else to distract his carries and everything, he'd have to be top 12. I like you, have him ahead of Leonard Fournette, way ahead of him. But I wouldn't draft him at that position. I like that he's lower on these ADP boards, so I can steal him a little later. Because I don't think Fournette is going to, like you said, he was a big-time player out of the backfield. He caught a lot of passes, like you said, and then I just don't see him repeating that.
There's changes in Jacksonville this year. They're not gonna lean on the running back like they did last year in 2020.
I mean,
so
I think he'll be getting a lot of carries. They'll probably give him like 20 carries, but at the same time, he's not going to be getting all those passes out the backfield. And there's going to be a lot of changes, like you said, and especially if Minshew's the quarterback, it's going to change the whole offense. I don't see him repeating that. And then the other problem with Fournette is that man can't stay healthy. Come on now. You really gonna put your livelihood on him staying healthy?
No, I'm not.
I bet you some money he's gonna miss at least 2 games.
I'm gonna be 2 out of 3 on my Leonard Fournette bold predictions, back to back predictions that I've made. I'll be 2 out of 3. I'm gonna finish with a winning record. He's the kind of guy that reminds me of I'm trying to think of a couple players like Lacy, Eddie Lacy. I felt the same way about Eddie Lacy. I got reamed when he came out, and I said he was going to be a bust because for about a year or two he was really good, but he vanished really quickly. And Fournette, I know, is a different player. They're slightly different, but he reminds me of him. Everything about him reminds me of him. His on and off the field decision making, the fact that again 3 rushing touchdowns last year. There's a lot. The losing weight, when he lost weight and he tried to play at a lesser weight, that never ends well for a running back that needs to grind it out between the tackles. It's like taking off your pads. Devin Singletary's number 20 overall. Mark Ingram's 19. Melvin Gordon's 18. That's an interesting one. Le'Veon Bell 17. I think he dies in as a Jet unless they trade him. Then he could be revived. Chris Carson's number 15. Drake's number 16. Miles Sanders is the last player in the tier right above them at 14. Do you guys, anything pop into your head as far as those names?
I like Singletary. I definitely think Singletary's got a lot of potential to climb up to the top of that tier. Definitely do.
What about rookies? I know you like J.K. Dobbins best, right, Ari? Out of all these running backs?
I mean, talent-wise, but before the draft, Dobbins is my number 1, but Taylor's my number 2. Yeah. They're really close together for me.
For rookies, where do you slot a rookie in here if you were drafting in a redraft format, PPR? Where would you put the running back?
I think best case scenario, if they land in the spot where they'll see a workhorse load, they could be like a third round pick in redraft leagues. I mean, we've obviously seen like I think rookies. There's been like at least one top 12 finisher each of the last whatever years. So I think recent history suggests, and we've seen rookies ADPs end up in the third to fourth round. Um, Obviously, David Montgomery didn't work out last year, but just in general, with Jacobs too in the third round last year. So I think as the hype rises, as the offseason progresses, I think by July and August, we'll see. I mean, it depends on where they land, obviously, but I think we'll see one of or multiple of Dobbins, Swift, Taylor, maybe even Akers if he lands in a good spot
Yeah,
going in like the fourth round.
Akers could be the number one. Dobbins could be the. I mean, they're all four of these
Yeah.
top. You know, even Hilaire, or however you say his last name, Hilaire. You know, any one of these guys could land in a spot that would make them a top, 15 overall running back easy. But I think coming out of the combine, Taylor's got the advantage because teams are going to view him as the most workhorse capable guy. But Swift in the right spot would be Alvin Kamara. J.K. Dobbins in the right spot would be Alvin Kamara. They'd both be that kind of player, in my opinion. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah. They just got to land on the right spot. It's all about being on the right team that's going to give them the touches and utilize them to their best abilities. But man, Dobbins to me, that guy's stud. I think he's my favorite running back out of the draft right now.
Yeah, I like Dobbins a lot. I think J.K. I think we all three like him the most. Swift I like a lot. I have some concerns about. Everyone says he's bigger than Dobbins, but I don't think he is. I think they're pretty close to the same size. You guys have a quick second to do wide receivers, or do any one of you got to jump?
No, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I'll hit up next week. Maybe we'll do wide receiver next week.
Okay.
All right, my man.
I'll let you bounce out. Ari, you're good with wide receivers?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm good whenever.
Okay. Dr. Raj, we appreciate you as always, my friend.
No doubt, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Stay
Hopefully tomorrow we get some good news on collective bargaining and free agency and stuff. So we'll see.
Okay, I'll let you hang
All right,
up
man.
so I don't kick Ari off. But
right.
wash up, get that TP, take care of your chickens and your mentals. And
right.
yeah, if you can't find any toilet paper, let's say you go out of it really quick. I'm sure Ari could steal some from his dorm before he
I got
leaves.
plenty of it. So if you guys need some,
How much?
hit me up. I'm selling it. $5 a roll.
Oh, you could go higher than that. Come on.
For now, I'll make it cheap.
All right, Dr. Raj. Later, man.
All right, man. Later.
Okay, Ari. Let's see here.
I'm just gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in like a minute.
No problem. All right, I'm going to put up the rankings, guys, for wide receivers, and we'll get Ari back from his restroom break to break some of it down with me. Let me get it on screen here. This is from Fantasy Pros. These are the top. This is PPR wide receiver rankings for 2020 according to the experts. So let me change this graphic to wide receivers, and then we'll get to it. And if you haven't followed Ari, go to Instagram and follow this man. He has, I believe, 80,000 followers. Dr. Raj has over 100. I forgot to congratulate him. I think I did already in the last live, but Dr. Raj hit 100,000 followers on IG. So congrats to the man. Quick look at this before Ari gets back. This is Redraft PPR Fantasy Pros. PPR, Ari, I don't know if you want to switch over to that, wide receivers. So Mike Thomas, number one, clear as day to me. I mean, guy catches, 100, how many passes last year? 140? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever the record was.
Yeah, 140 something. That's crazy, man. I remember when 111 or something was like, unheard of, and people were, jaws were dropping over that. 140 is crazy. And Drew Brees being back, I mean, you could have a conversation about dynasty and how Brees leaving or Brees retiring or whatever could impact Mike Thomas. But for right now, 2020, Brees is back.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to change much. I mean, Mike Thomas is so good. DeAndre Hopkins is the number 2 ranked wide receiver. I think talent wise, he deserves that spot. But do you have Adams or Hill above him for fantasy reasons?
No, Hopkins is number 2 for me.
And who's number 3 for you? Adams, Hill.
Adam.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Adams.
think those 3 are tier 1 for me, and I think Hill's like top of tier 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Adams. I think those are the first round wide receivers. I think that's a good way to put
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't take a wide receiver if it's not Mike Thomas, Hopkins, or
yeah.
Adams in that first round.
Yeah, I agree.
So Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Godwin, and Mike Evans. Do you agree with that group, or do you have anybody that you love to pull into that tier 2 or move out of the tier 2?
No, that's pretty good to me. I don't think I'd. Uh,
Even with
I mean,
Brady, even with Brady in Tampa versus having Winston throwing the ball to those guys, do you still like Godwin and Evans both in the top 7?
um, what's happened? Oh, here. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really see anybody below him that I would likely move up above them. I don't think. I mean, obviously, it would be a big change if Winston's not there and it's like gunslinger mentality. But if the Tampa Bay can upgrade the offensive line, then I think that they'll still be able to maintain both of them wide receiver 1 production just based off how pass heavy I think they'll be under Bruce Arians. I mean, obviously, if they do bring in like a stud running back this offseason, that could change. But Arians has been a pass-heavy coach like his entire career, and we've seen him work very well with like veteran quarterbacks, like when he rejuvenated Carson Palmer's career in Arizona. And obviously, Brady's better than Palmer was at that point in his career. So I wouldn't necessarily expect a huge change for Godwin Evans if Brady's in Tampa.
I agree with that. I mean, I think Brady's the best case scenario, but like if they brought in a Bridgewater, I keep using Bridgewater instead of Brady, where would you drop one of those guys, or would you drop one of them?
Um, I mean, honestly, looking at the players below him, I don't really see anybody I would move above them.
I think I maybe move Galladay above one of them if that was the case. If it was like, okay, Bridgewater's there. I mean, Bridgewater, I guess, like you said, we don't even know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
But I'd be worried about raking both guys. I think if Brady doesn't land in Tampa, and you have a far lesser passer in terms of cranking out numbers, I think Evans survives more than Godwin does, but that's me. I think we have more of a history to look at. We have a guy that can go up and get a football basically from anybody, an errant pass, whatever. Mike Evans has proven. Godwin's had 1 year, and he was great. He was amazing, but take away the quarterback that made him turn into that player, and I feel like you're running a higher risk. We know what Evans is capable of doing without Winston or with erratic play. We just don't know what Godwin is capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. I definitely hear that. I think with how Bruce Arians involved, just how good a route runner Godwin is, and how Arians uses him in his offense, I think he is quarterback proof. I just think that we saw how Larry Fitzgerald was in Arizona out of the slot with Arians, no matter who the quarterback was. So I think it's super close, obviously, but I just think I think Godwin's a little safer only because of how good of a route runner he is. Whereas I don't want to call Evans just a deep threat, but I think with Winston getting him the ball deep, I just think relying on a quarterback with an accurate deep ball is a little bit more what Evans is relying on. Whereas obviously Evans has the longevity and history of like the 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons and all of that. But I just think with how good a route runner Godwin is, obviously Godwin's only like 24, so he hasn't had that opportunity to prove himself like Evans has. And I just think with how Arians involves his slot receiver in his offense his entire career, no matter who the slot receiver was, really, and obviously mainly Fitzgerald in Arizona. But I think Godwin's a little safer in PPR just given his route running ability and how the slot is used in Arians' offense.
Yeah, you make good points. I mean, you do make a good argument for why I think they could be more apt to have a good year, even if Bridgewater's there, let's say. What are the options if they don't get Brady? If Brady goes to Tennessee, who do you think is quarterbacking for the Titans or for the Bucks in 2020? You think that then they bring Winston back, or do you see another scenario? Like I don't even know who they would have besides Bridgewater or a rookie or, um, yeah. What are you thinking?
I mean, from a fantasy perspective, I'm hoping they bring back Winston, obviously. But and I do think that they'll end up franchise tagging him on a 1 year deal, like a 1 year prove it deal. But if Arians is done with Winston after the 30 interception last year and they don't get Brady, and let's just say they don't think Jordan Love or Herbert in the draft was something that they look toward, I think they have pick 5 in the draft, I want to say, which would be right in the range where they could get Herbert potential. Because I'm assuming that, or no, the Dolphins at pick 5. 1 sec. Pick to the Buccaneers. Yeah.
It's cutting out a little bit. Well, yeah, it'd be interesting. I think it's Winston or Brady. I think it'd end up being one of the two, but it would
And the Bucks have pick 14, so that would be right in the range for like Jordan Love, probably if
I like
they
Jordan
don't.
Love.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously has the mechanics to be what people call the next Patrick Mahomes, and with the turnovers in college, obviously, which isn't a good look. But I mean, if he can land with Arians, like known as a quarterback guru, of course, I think he could potentially turn it around.
Yeah, I like Love a
Obviously,
lot.
yeah, obviously there's the negative love with the decision making and turnovers, but he also has the size that scouts love, and he has the arm strength, and he has all the mechanics that scouts look for in an NFL quarterback. So, I mean, if he can land, I like him either with the Colts or Tampa Bay potentially.
Yeah. Galladay. So this next tier, Cooper, Galladay, DJ Moore. I think people are ranking DJ Moore a little bit too high with like some concerns at quarterback, who's going to be throwing on the football. Receivers adapting to a new passer is always kind of a concern. Is receivers moving teams is a concern, or receivers having a new quarterback. I don't know. What's your prediction there at quarterback? And anybody in this tier do you think deserves to be moved way up? I have AJ Brown. Like, I don't draft him at the top of this tier, but I rank him at the top of this tier. Him and Galladay are like neck and neck for the next player that really at the end of the year will be in that tier above with Julio, Godwin, Evans. I think both Galladay and AJ Brown will be up that high. What are your thoughts on those two and DJ Moore or anything else in this tier?
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on AJ Brown. I thought he was like the most complete receiver coming out of college in the class last year. And then the landing spot, I didn't like with Mariota, but then obviously once he got the opportunity with Tannehill, we saw what he did. And especially if they bring back Tannehill or even Brady, yeah, Brown's probably going to be top 10 for me in 2020. And then with Galladay, we saw what we did with Driscoll, and obviously he'll have a healthy Matthew Stafford. With Marvin Jones taking attention away, it's kind of a tough division with defenses, but I mean, we saw Minnesota and Chicago both take a step back last year, so it's not as bad as it looks on paper. So yeah, I definitely would move Brown probably top 10 and Galladay probably both of them top like 8 to 10.
Yeah. Juju, where's Juju rank for you heading into 2020? Do you have him in that tier 3?
I mean, yeah, I think if Roethlisberger is like progresses well and is going to be fully healthy, I definitely think that he can be a player that people will look at what he did last year and just completely like devalue him. I mean, obviously we know Roethlisberger's history with targeting wide receiver ones, and Juju had the one big year Roethlisberger where Brown was the 1 and Juju was the 2, and then people had the argument that Juju hasn't proven it as the number 1, but there's like a few games where Antonio Brown was, I think, hurt, and with Roethlisberger and Juju was the number 1, and like in those, I forget, it's like a small sample size, but like the 3 or 4 games where he's the number 1 with Roethlisberger, he was averaging like over 20 fantasy points per game in those contests. So, I mean, I think if Roethlisberger is fully healthy, he obviously has the injury risk But if he's fully healthy going into training camp and going into week 1, then I think in like the 4th or 5th round, Juju could be like one of the biggest values in 2020.
Yeah, I hope he falls that far. And if people think that Roethlisberger going down didn't have like a direct correlation to the demise of Juju in 2019, they're not looking at the historical, data that when Roethlisberger goes down, Antonio Brown vanished in the past, and Antonio Brown was not just Roethlisberger dependent, but that offense it's like they have no backup plan. The offense is crippled, unlike some other offenses are too, but Pittsburgh specifically, when Roethlisberger's out, the passing game just completely vanishes. So I don't blame Juju for the beginning part of the year and him falling off the face of the earth, and I think that he could definitely be a surprise. What?
Is also just unlucky pretty much all last year. Like, on the field, you could tell he wasn't fully 100% with the routes he was running and all of that. So I think it was just an overall unlucky year without Roethlisberger and with the injuries all together.
Yeah, let's hope he bounces back. I'm not trusting him with anything but a 4th or 5th rounder, but if someone takes him in the 3rd, they take him in the 3rd, and I'm fine with that. There are other players that I really like in the 3rd round that I think could fall, even if it's the top of the 3rd, and one of Lamar or Mahomes fall to the top of the 3rd, which is a weird topic because I did a mock draft today where I took Mahomes in the 2nd, which I know a lot of people don't like, but sometimes he doesn't last to the end of the 2nd. Sometimes you'll never get Lamar or Mahomes in the 3rd round in any draft that you do. And then other times, literally, you take a quarterback early and no one else does. And everyone's like, he took a quarterback early. It's so funny that there's some leagues that literally, I mean, their ADPs are in the 2nd round for a reason. People are taking both in the 2nd round. Do you at all experiment with taking a Mahomes or a Lamar for some of your mocks or teams or in your rankings? Are you recommending that in some situations? Because it seems like most people are either, I'm both. I'm wait on a QB and take a QB early.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not like one or the other. You'll do whatever you feel the flow.
Yeah, I'm definitely more towards your way in that I think if you're comfortable with your ability to find those like double-digit round players like we saw last year, like McLaurin and all the rookie receivers like Deebo Samuel, if you're comfortable with your, I think there's not one way to win a league, and at the end of the day, the draft is only like a very small part of winning a championship. Is more like your lineup management and waiver wire. That's like in my opinion, that's a bigger part than the draft. So the draft's only like I would say like a 20% part of winning a championship, and I definitely think that there's not one way to win a league when it comes to your draft strategy.
Yeah, and I think that even more so emphasizes that if the draft is that I don't want to say insignificant, but that there's so many more components involved that getting a guy that's a for sure 40 TD guy like Mahomes is an even better way to make your draft get the most out of your draft and then use your skills in the later rounds to. And speaking of McLaurin and Hollywood Brown are not on this list, and DJ Chark, all 3 of them, and throw AJ Brown in there, all 4 of them. So AJ Brown, McLaurin, Chark, and Hollywood Brown, my 4 favorite 4 wide receivers in 2020, and I'd rather forego getting any of these guys if I could have 3 of those 4 and build my running backs, in the 1st and 2nd round, and or Zeke Elliott, Mahomes, and Eckler if I could get him somehow, and then have 3 of those wide receivers. I'd take that any day of the week, and I think in fact I'm going to build a lot of teams around that mentality because those guys could hang with a lot of these guys. And McLaurin's going to be amazing. Hollywood Brown's going to be amazing. This sophomore group, I know DJ Chark wasn't he wasn't a rookie, but this sophomore group of wide receivers is going to be insane. People are going to forget to draft these guys, I think, early enough.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm definitely completely with you. I think looking at like the middle rounds, I think Calvin Ridley I like a lot. It was like a very short sample size, but like in the three games Cooper missed last year, he was like on pace for like a top 3 receiver. Obviously, I don't think he'll be that. I don't think he'll be that good in 2020. But I think if you can get guys like Ridley, Shark, like Adam Thielen, McLaurin, Gallup, Tyler Boyd, all those guys in like the 5th to 7th round, like I would have no. I made a post on this. I think like a week ago or a few days ago, talking about like I would have no issues with guys like that as my wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 if I'm grabbing like a running backs, and this could be even the year to take a quarterback or tight end early in the 2nd or 3rd round if I can get that group as like leading my
I love
receiving.
it.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite. My favorite approach is that two-headed monster approach that I've been talking about constantly on Instagram. You've seen, I'm sure. But in an auction, you could pull off getting Barkley, McCaffrey, or Barkley and Zeke, or McCaffrey and Zeke, getting 2 of those top 3 running backs, and getting Kyler Murray and at least 1, maybe 2 of those wide receivers. You might be able. McLaurin's falling pretty far, and Hollywood Brown's very not getting much respect at all. I've been reaching for Hollywood Brown in a lot of mock drafts and even real drafts because I do real drafts early. I'm crazy, but I've been reaching really early for Hollywood Brown, and I think every single league I've drafted him in. I've done 2 dynasty startups, real leagues. Both of those leagues, I've gotten like eyeball emojis and stuff where I've taken him. And so I'm clearly off base on where Hollywood Brown should be ranked. And I'm getting nervous and pulling the trigger probably a round too early. So I'm really excited to see how far Hollywood Brown falls to me. Because like you just said, you worded it perfectly. I have no problem with not only getting those 3 of those 4 guys, but my wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 being Hollywood Brown, AJ Brown, and Chark, or McLaurin, Chark, and you could throw in. I like Gallup too. Like you mentioned Gallup. Gallup is a guy that I'm seeing really low. He's number 32 on Fantasy Pros, and he could be the number 1 wide receiver in Dallas, even if Amari Cooper stays. He's that good.
And I'm looking at the chat, and DK Metcalf's in that same group for me too. Where if I can get Metcalf in like the 6th or 7th round, I have no problem with him as my wide receiver 2. If I'm like stacking up on like running backs and then like an elite quarterback or tight end in the early rounds.
Renee is asking, and we'll make this the last question. I'll let you go. Ari, I'm sure you're planning for your exit route.
Whenever you're done.
Let's see. Brown. How do I rank Brown, AJ Brown, McLaurin, Chark, and Hollywood Brown? I would rank AJ Brown number 1 of that group because I think he's top 5 capable. I'm clearly drafting him later. Don't anybody take that and go that information, go draft him in the top 5. He's top 5 capable. McLaurin's top like 10 capable. Chark is top 10 to 15 capable, and Hollywood Brown to me is in the 12 to 15 range for being capable. Not all of them are going to finish that high. I'm just saying that's where their ceiling feels. So what do you think? You think AJ Brown, based on what you said, and then who do you have? McLaurin, or is it?
If I'm drafting today, it would probably be AJ Brown, and then it would be between McLaurin and Shark at 2 and 3, and then Marquise Brown number 4 for me. I would probably right now I'd put Shark number 2, McLaurin 3, and Hollywood Brown number 4 of that group.
Yeah, it's just a great. Man, I love all 4. Yeah. I think they're and Debo's there, but Debo's offense is a little limiting. Like he can't catch 100 balls in San Francisco. Not that I think Hollywood Brown's going to catch 100 balls, but I just feel like these guys don't have a ceiling, whereas Debo is going to have somewhat of a governor on his ability to pull in X number of passes. But he could run a lot. Dr. Raj predicted him. I wish he was still here. This is crazy, but he predicted him to have 500 yards rushing in 2020, but he's a 49er nut. How capable is Debo of running for 500 yards, do you think?
I mean, obviously we saw them using him on those end arounds like quite often. Obviously, I think 500 is pretty bold, but I think upwards of 300, 350 yards if they keep using him in that gadget end around type of play style, which I don't really see. I don't see why they would stop what they were doing last year, considering how far it got them. So, I mean, I definitely think he can be that like slot, like big slot receiver. Although they're getting Jalen Hurd back from injury, so it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him because they might lose Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. So and I believe they only have one pick in the first 4 rounds of the draft, so they don't really have much draft equity to address the receiver position. So Debo could be the number one receiver in 2020 if they don't retain Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I think he for sure will be. But yeah, 500 yards would be crazy. Dr. Raj, if you're watching, I hope you're right. But that'd be insane. He'd be a 1,500 total yard receiver, so that'd be pretty crazy. Yeah, I think 250, 300 seems more likely. But he's the man on the ground over in San Francisco, so we'll 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 let him have that one. But all right, Ari, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm gonna probably call it here. I don't know if you want to go on IG after this. I'm willing to do that for a few minutes too, if you want.
Oh yeah, I'll be up for a couple hours, so
Okay.
whatever.
Let's do that. We'll end this, and then I'll message you, and then I don't know if you want to start it or if you want me to start it, but let's go on IG for just a little bit because I've been doing that pretty much all day. Okay, I'll see you in a minute then. Thanks, Ari.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Go follow Ari on Instagram. He's got how many? Oh, I think he just left. I think he has about 70 to 80,000 followers on IG. He's a big account on Instagram for football and creates some awesome content. He's, I believe, a journalism major at U of A, so he loves it. He lives and breathes it. So, Computer Bob, where have you been, bro? Haven't seen you in a while. Is wondering how much the rookies are going to mess up the ranking board. Very good question, Bob. Wide receivers, probably not too much here. Maybe CeeDee Lamb and Judy will be like right around this range here for redraft rankings, but in Dynasty definitely would mess this board up big time. Appreciate all of you. That's going to put a wrap on the show. We did running backs and wide receivers from Fantasy Pros, broke it down. This list looks pretty good, other than I would put well, I shouldn't say it looks pretty good because I have some guys on here that I think are totally not even on people's radars in terms of top 15, 20 rankings, and that's McLaurin, Hollywood Brown. Where's Chark on here? Is DJ Chark not even in the top? That's crazy. DJ Chark, McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, AJ Brown is on here, but I think these guys are capable of being top 10 to 15 wide receivers, with AJ Brown being potentially a top 5 guy. So yeah, Marcus C on IG. Those of you that don't know my IG handle, I've got great news for you. It's the same handle that I have here on YouTube. So get on over to Instagram. I'm going to go live with Ari. We're going to talk fantasy football on Instagram. So go to your Instagram app and search for the Fantasy Football Show. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. I can't wait to make 2020 an amazing year. And even if there's no football, you can bet I'm going to be going live talking with you guys. But there will be football. Have faith. Wash your hands. Take care of your mentals and your chickens later.